With your permission, Your Royal Highness, I would like to start with the Arab Spring. How can Jordan cope with the domestic and the regional implication?
May I thank you first, Coded, for visiting us here in Amman. I know that you are one of the builders of Jordanian-Israeli understandings, whereas the Arab Spring addressed the domestic issues of social and economic disequality, what I call the human dignity deficit. In slogans, no plans have yet emerged. We do not have an institutionalized regional awakening. And this is why I would love to see the region represented at the United Nations on a thematic basis. A regional community of water and energy for the human environment is something, as many of our friends in the conference hall have heard me speak of for many years. For Jordan, it is a manifold challenge, because if we take the numbers of Syrian and before that Iraqi refugees, they totaled certainly over 1 million, some say 1.5 million in total. And the question that poses itself in terms of looking west towards the Palestinian territories and towards Israel is, have we been diverted from the focus on the issues closest to home, what I call the trilemma, the Jordanian, Israeli, Palestinian, or the Israeli-Palestinian-Jordanian relationship, depending on which side of the river you're looking at it from. I think that today we are living in a period of the birth of new truths. I hope that those truths will not be complicated further by the question of Iran's nuclear program, by the disintegration of Syria, and of course the cantonization of Iraq, not to mention the situation in the Lebanon. Which I think the time has come with Mr. Kerry visiting the region and talking about the importance of a peace push, that those of us who think out of the box should be given a chance maybe to contribute to a vision of region which addresses twofold. Firstly, the outstanding political issues, and we know there are 6 or 7 in terms of Palestinian-Israeli particularities, that is to say, issues including territories, settlements, water, and the list is well known, of course, culminating with the all-important issue of Jerusalem. But at the same time, the question of the uprooted, as I describe them, in the forthcoming meeting to be held in June, addresses DPs, IDPs, stateless persons, refugees, each one with an international mandate from the United Nations. I think that these two issues, the outstanding Palestinian-Israeli particularities, are gradually becoming regional, and in that sense, with all due respect to the quartet, I don't know how much they are putting the thermometer to the political temperature in the street, which the fabled Arab street is always rejecting anything that comes by diktat from outside the region. So I think that the issue is an extremely difficult one for Jordan. I believe that the inherited in law residual legal authority of the Ottoman law and the British law, 17 years in terms of Jordan, are still points of reference that should be taken seriously, because these legal responsibilities have not been abrogated, even by the disengagement agreement. But that doesn't mean that you jump immediately to the conclusion that Jordan is promoting confederation or federation.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Which leads me to the second question about the Jordanian role in the making of peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
Well, I want to make it abundantly clear that in terms of the Jordanian-Israeli peace treaty, that one of the most fascinating and long forgotten articles in the peace treaty is Article 2 in General Principles, Para 6, and I'd like to quote it because of its specificity. They, both parties, that is to say, believe that within their control, involuntary movement of persons in such a way as to adversely prejudice the security of either party should not be permitted. Now, I personally believe that the importance of a labor compensatory facility is long overdue in the region. And I address Stanley Fisher among your audience because I recall taking him to visit one of the suburbs of Amman when he was deputy IMF director, and he got into the details of take-home pay, severance conditions, air quality, water quality. And I think that sadly, the basic absence of a regional information base is one of the difficulties that we face, whether in the West Bank, the OT, or in Jordan, or in the region as a whole. With the exception of Israel, there is no detailed knowledge base that we could base our economic investment concepts on in terms of priorities. Projects are all very well, but they have to be a part of a concept, which is why I regret the fact that, as you and I remember, that Aqaba Eilat Airport, for example, never materialized. We could have had a model taken from Geneva, possibly, where people could come to both sides. As far as water desalination is concerned, I think that the parallel lines, which are today the administrative lines, could also become the pipelines. You know, it's not a question only of the light at the end of the tunnel, it's a question of finding the tunnel in the first place. But I think that we are all back-footed now, particularly with the rise of fundamentalism on all sides, and an ideological persuasion on all sides that what I'm saying is right and what everybody else is saying is wrong. So if we're going to elevate regional peace considerations to a regional economic dimension. I mean, I note with interest that the state of Qatar is spending a lot of money in different parts of the region, even in contested areas such as Gaza. But making peace is not about buying the football club, with all due respect, or the football cup. Making peace is about looking at a regional context of a concept into which projects are fitted. If we're going to look for a new creativity, then we have to recognize that in the Versailles context, when my great uncle met King Faisal I, met Chaim Weizmann, the concept was the complementarity of Arab resources and Arab peoples and the Jewish interconnectedness and entrepreneuring achievements. Of course, everything was put back by the pogroms in particular. I don't talk of the Ottoman era when we were targeted Arabs, Jews, Arabs, Christians, Arabs, Muslims, but the pogroms of Stalin and the Second World War. So I think that it's extremely important to recognize that every region in the world has its own characteristics. The Arabs feel sometimes that they're like Visigoths outside that wall, you know, of a civilized Israel with a strong economy, a strong banking reality, and so forth, which can become a sort of power broker after the collapse of the Cyprus economy. Many of the Russian investors now moving to Israel. You have so many different options.
Many thanks, your Royal Highness.
Thank you very much indeed.
It's been a fascinating interview.
Thank you, and I wish the conference every success and look forward to following up with you. Maybe I can extend an invitation to a forthcoming roundtable with the Institute to be held in Jordan.